You are listening to the Marketing 32 Show with your host, Brett Allen.
Hi, Brett Allen here, host of the Marketing 32 Show, where I connect with leading dentists, dental influencers, and industry experts to uncover the latest and greatest to help your practice grow and thrive. This episode, as always, is brought to you by a team here at Marketing 32. We're the only dental marketing team that I know of that we help you grow or you don't pay. So we have that performance guarantee, and we only work with practices we're confident we can help lift and provide value for. So if you need help with growth, if you're needing help with marketing, head over to marketing32.com, schedule a quick discovery call. We'll have that conversation and we'll see if this will be a win-win to work together. Quick shout out to Connor Ludlow. Recently had him on the show. He's the founder of Hello Annie, which is an AI employee company. A little different than AI receptionist, but really cool conversation about how AI can be leveraged to do lots of different things in your practice. Check out that episode to learn more. Excited to have a new friend of mine on the show, Lana Rivera. She is the founder of NMG Practice Solutions. She's an international speaker and the strategist dental practices call when they're ready to stop surviving and start scaling. Excited to talk more about that. With more than 20 years in dentistry, she's known for asking the hard questions, challenging outdated thinking, and turning overlooked opportunities into measurable growth. She believes the future of dentistry belongs to practices that lead differently, and she's built a proven framework to help them get there. Welcome to the show, Lana. Excited to have you on.
Thanks, Brett. I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So talk to us more about who you are and how you got into dentistry. I'd love to start with background and walk people through your journey and how you got to what you're doing with NMG.
Awesome. I would be delighted. Like many people, I actually fell into dentistry on complete and total accident. And how it all kind of happened is basically what I implemented later on in life. I talk a lot about building practices from the inside out. So I fell into dentistry from the inside out. I started in a dental lab, oddly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I learned the prosthetic side. I learned the importance of quality prosthetics and how it impacts and affects individual smiles. And then from there, I went on into working in the dental office itself. So kind of an interesting perspective, right? When you talk about that, not many people have that initial experience, alone just that in general. From there, I went off into oral surgery. I went into also general dentistry, working with developmentally disabled adults. I was always in the manager seat, if you will. And so I had a lot of experience looking at practices from a high level functioning aspect. And then with the practice that I worked with, developmentally disabled adults, I learned the empathy side of dentistry and the relationship side of dentistry because they're a very sensitive group to work with, and just how important it was to build that trust in order for those patients to come back. So in my final veteran years, as I will call it, working in office, I worked for a maxillofacial surgeon who did very complex procedures, jaw resections, 8-overs, implants, really, really heavy into surgery. So, and then from there, I was like, I'm ready to be released out into the world and help more doctors and scale and grow, as we say.
How were you when you were in practice in clinic? What role were you playing? Were you assistant, or how were you working with them?
I was actually always in management. Never. Technically speaking, clinical, but my role in managing was to help everybody work more efficiently, right? Help the clinical team work more efficiently. Admin team, right, on an operational level. And I am very much so a why person. So even though I was not clinical, specifically on the sedation side, I wanted to know why, what, how, and when, and what are you doing and why are you doing it? And what that did is that helped me transcend that knowledge into training opportunities on a clinical level with clinical staff to help the doctor be more efficient.
Awesome. So you decided to go off and do your own consulting.
I did.
And create NMG.
NMG.
What is is that acronym stand for something? NMG?
It actually does stand for something. So clearly my last name is Rivera. So in a previous life, I was married to a Spanish gentleman.
Oh, okay.
The the family joke was I created solutions for problems that doctors didn't like. So the Spanish term is no me gusta. And
No
that
me gusta.
thing, so NMG legitimately stands for no me gusta. So I create practice
I don't
solutions.
like these problems. I want to fix them.
That's right. Yeah.
So a little known fact about me is for 2 years I lived in Santiago, Chile. And so
Oh,
I learned Spanish. I was on a church mission trip down there.
awesome.
And yeah, awesome time, great people. But yeah, no me gusta. I got you. I understand.
Everyone loves it when I talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's great. So a great brand. Let's fix the problems, things that you don't like in your practice. So walk us through kind of how did you start NMG? What pain points did you see in practices that you knew you could help with, and some of your methodologies, your principles.
Okay. Well, every single office that I had walked into on an employment side of the table, right? The doctors were always stressed out. They were at their max capacity. They didn't understand why, team culture was terrible, or why front desk or admin and clinical couldn't get along, how their referral status working in the specialty field, where the referrals were coming from, how to make things stronger, financial. They're maxed and they're completely and totally taxed out. So like I said, every office that I went into had a fundamental overwhelm maxed out problem where they just can't take on any more capacity. It's insanely difficult, and I'm sure you've seen it, to be a clinician, to put your all into your patients and then operate on the business side, let alone dealing with the HR side as well. So when I decided to make my grand exit out of in-office, that was my whole goal. I wanted to help and still help doctors that are at their max capacity, that want to be able to do more, come to a resolve of their problems that they're facing, but still be able to practice dentistry that they loved initially when they got into it. So I've coined the phrase, I work from the inside out, which is, again, how I fell into dentistry, right? And what I like to do, my approach is I get down to the foundation of the problems. Whether that's, I have my set reports that I like to look at. I like to look at the overall flow of patient care. And I get down into the nitty gritty. And what that helps me see high level is where the pain points are beginning and where they are breaking down later on down the road, right? Kind of kicking that can with problems. And so I am not the kind of the kind of consultant that walks in necessarily with a clipboard and say, check, check, check. We're going to do X, Y, and Z exactly the way I did it with so-and-so's office. While they have similar pain points, the approach, the implementation is completely customized and tailored to each individual client.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking of mentor / friend of mine from a networking group a marketing group I used to be part of. He's actually a pretty big name now, Alex Hermosi. I don't know if you've heard of him. He has this concept of the business will grow to the next level constraint. So whatever that ceiling is, unless you figure out how to break through that ceiling or create a process or put somebody in place to help you fix that problem or manage that problem, you'll always be there. So figuring out what that constraint is and fixing it, that was coming to mind as you were talking. So walk us through, like, what are some common constraints or where they feel maxed? What are some of these things that you help them unlock? Are there common things that you see over and over?
That's a great question. So number one, you're always going to see the issue with finances. That's always going to be at the top of their mind, because ultimately, if you're feeling the pressure of the finances itself and you're not understanding not necessarily the flow, but where the hangup may be, it's going to impact literally everything else. So oftentimes that's what initially they come to with, hey, Lana, I'm having a problem with my overhead. I don't understand my numbers. I don't know where my patients are going with their treatment plan. So it's typically always financially based where they're feeling that pressure. They think if they work harder, that it will automatically fix that problem. But what they find is that there's a leak in the bucket elsewhere. It's not them working harder that's the problem. It's their systems behind it that is basically leaking the money, which is causing the strain on the financial aspects of the practice.
Yeah, so finances starting there is often a big, that must be because it's easy to kind of measure. There's a quantifiable number that we're looking at. And what do
Right.
we need? What strings do we need to pull and levers to pull to fix that number?
Yeah.
I can totally relate to that though, of like, oh man, if revenue's not where I want it to be, or if profitability is not where I want it to be, this is a financial thing that needs to be addressed. When there's other underlying things that relate to that need to be diagnosed and treated, right? Are there other things that you commonly come across that are hangups and bottlenecks or frustrations in the practice?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton. There's a ton. I mean, you name it, we come across it.
Right.
A lot of things that we come into, I think in dentistry, one of the problems that we come across oftentimes is delegation. Doctors, because of their overwhelmed and their taxed, understanding what to delegate, when to delegate, and who to delegate to. So that's something that I work very closely with, specifically in the pediatric realm, what can be delegated out. The other thing that I focus a lot on because it's measurable is case acceptance. Where are you at with your case acceptance? And it's kind of interesting because I had a discovery call yesterday with somebody about that. And it was like you could see their little light bulb turn on where they're like, I've been so busy working on my patients, I don't know where my case acceptance is. And so we want to talk about like little leaks in the bucket. That's a big
Yeah.
leak oftentimes. And so bringing the awareness, number one, and not for the sake of shaming anybody, but bringing awareness. They need to know where they're at, and then implementing a system, a trackable system that's easy. It's not stressful
Yeah.
for the staff, so then everyone becomes more aware. And that's an automatic thing that helps significantly.
Yeah, I want to dig deeper with you there on case acceptance. That's a big one. And I can totally relate when we talk with practices, talk with docs all the time, that think they have a pulse, an idea of what's happening maybe at the front desk and what the booking rate is, or what that case acceptance rate number is. But it's more of like a gut number, and it's not truly a number that's being tracked. Oftentimes when we dig into the weeds and we actually put systems in place to track that booking rate at the front desk or track case acceptance, that 95% confidence automatically all of a sudden goes down to, oh man, I'm only 40% or 20% booking rate at the front desk. I thought we were booking every call. It's like, no, there's things we need to fix and work on. So in talking about case acceptance, what are some of the things that you do to help work with a practice to improve that number and track it, like you talked about?
So, first of all, my number one question is always going to be, do you have a treatment plan coordinator? And you would be surprised how many offices don't. And it's not even specialty specific, right? Typically, oral surgery is a bit stronger when it comes to that, but it's a position that I feel is one of the most essential and important positions to have. So that's the very first question. If you don't have someone who is dedicated to being a treatment plan coordinator, it doesn't mean that they can't be also an assistant, or they can't be also an office manager, but you need someone who's dedicated to the treatment plan coordination process, because that automatically is going to bump up your acceptance rate, right? Having that dedicated hands-on touch point. And then from there, I dig into more of the psychology behind case acceptance. The person who is responsible for that, number one, they have to have a good relationship with finances. If they feel that in this economy, $1,000 is expensive for tires to get us to our place of employment or to just drive around in life, how are they going to feel about a $3,000 treatment plan for 2 crowns?
Yeah.
So then the other side of it also is making sure that the person who is presenting those treatment plans, their buy-in is just as strong as the doctor. They understand why the person needs this treatment, because that transcends down to the patients. oftentimes the patients are always going to ask the coordinator, treatment plan coordinator, or the assistant, do I really need this? I know doc just said it, but it's really expensive and I have Disney vacation, or they open up a bit more. And so the individual who's in that position really needs to have the doctor's back, understand the diagnosis, and how to oftentimes break down the explanation of why it's necessary a little bit easier. So those are
that's
I go over.
yeah. I agree with you. I think having somebody that's dedicated in that role of we don't say it, but this is the salesperson of the practice, right? The treatment coordinator is the closer. They need to know how to walk patients through making the best decision for their oral hygiene and their health. I think that's important. Well, we've talked quite a bit about some good things. Tell us more about how you work with practices. Like, what is your process like? What do you have frameworks you work through? Tell us more about your process.
So my process, like I said, I try to keep it as organic as possible, despite that I know specific pain points.
Okay.
So I typically, as far as framework goes, I typically work largely on a virtual level. So I have
Okay.
my monthly meetings with my clients. They have multiple touch points throughout the month where we can talk if something comes up in the middle of our meetings. And I'm very hands-on actually with the teams as well. The word consultant does not necessarily have the most positive and exciting response from team members. And so one of the things that I felt has really been enjoyable for myself is helping teams understand I'm actually an extension of them. I'm here to help. I'm here to facilitate. I'm here to work through problems with them. And I'm here to keep the relationships in the office strong while we go through this process of fixing issues, scaling, and growing. So that's a huge part of my philosophy and everything that I think about implementing wise in my frameworks.
Do you ever go out and meet in person? It's all virtual.
No, I also do meet in person. So I have clients that want me in their office every quarter. They like the support, they like the morale, they like the ability to have that critical thinking with
The
team members,
in-person
right?
vibe. Yeah.
But it's not limited just to virtual. It's not limited just to on-site. I believe in a healthy mix of both. So some clients may be like, Lana, I just want you here once every 6 months. I tailor it as much as I can to what their needs are and what helps kind of keep that fire burning and that excitement to keep everything on track.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. I think I think that in-person component is important, but in the days of Zoom and how we can do so many things virtually, it's great. All of our team at Marketing 32 works virtually, and we do phenomenal that way. But we do get together twice a year to do in-person team building and training and planning and things like that. So we've got our big team gathering coming up here in beginning of October. We'll be getting back together, but. So when you work with practices, is there one thing that tends to be like, oh man, this is my jam. Like I am really good at this. When we have these kind of issues, or this is the problem, may it be hiring or process or whatever. Is there one thing that it's because I talk with a lot of consultants, dental practice management consultants, and everyone seems to have kind of their unique sauce of how they work and zone of genius. So do you have something like that where it's like, oh, this is these types of clients or this type of scenario, I just crush it?
Well, that's such a good question. I like a challenge, and
Okay.
I like honestly, a personality challenge. I like to go into offices that there is this unspoken tension and bringing everybody together to be, basically recenter, understand why that they come into, to the office day in and day out. I get a lot of satisfaction in that because when you break down the unspoken tension, and sometimes it's spoken, and let's be honest, the dental space at the office itself is small. That impacts so much that teams don't realize because they're in the middle of working on it and in it. I love being able to, I don't want to say break it down in a negative way, but basically bring everybody back to a neutral ground of where they're at and why they're here and what each person needs to do to contribute to the overall happiness and ultimately the success of the practice. So that, believe it or not, I love that.
You love that
Yeah, I do.
scenario. Okay, so would you say that's like a communication breakdown where people aren't talking on the team well or relaying information? Is that what you
Yeah,
would say?
it's definitely a communication breakdown. And I've been in the industry long enough that I've taken multiple personality tests, and I've
Okay.
staff members, right? So I'm really big on that. How you're going to speak to a businessman is going to be completely different than how you speak to, a house,
Okay.
so to speak, right? And
Okay.
where teams don't understand is the same policy applies within the office, right? We all have different personalities. We all respond in a little bit of a different way. And so, like I said, I think that they work so closely. Doctors are tense. Patients are not thrilled to be sitting in the chair. There's so much tension that's going on that it's very easy for everyone to kind of get caught up in that, so to speak. And
Mm.
creating a healthier way to communicate, having boundaries, like I said, and recentering. I do really like that.
Okay. That's good to know. Well, that's great. I think I've really enjoyed our conversation. We're about out of time. I let's close with this is kind of process for the show. What's that golden nugget? What's that one epiphany? If we could help our listeners unlock this concept, what's that one thing that you think would have a big impact for them?
For team members and for doctors, there is a difference between busy and productive. And we
Yeah.
don't want to be busy. We want to be productive. So,
Yeah,
I-
that is good. That is important.
yeah.
How do you help do that? If we can dig a little in there.
Looking at structure, looking at the schedule, and easing pain points that maybe they don't need to be doing physically themselves versus that
Mm,
delegation.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. Busy versus productive. Well, this has been great, Lana. Thank you for coming on the show. If we've got listeners who want to work with you or find out more about you, where do we send them?
Check them out. Check me out on my website, nmgpracticesolutions.com, and you can
All
chat with me.
right. Okay. Your contact info's there. Everybody can reach you there. Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. All
Awesome.
right.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show today, Lana. It was a great time.
It was fun.
All right, everybody. Until next time on the Marketing 32 show, have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. Take care.